world, welcome back to Let's Talk Barca, episode 33. And in this episode, we're going to combine the review of the Barcelona versus Viktoria Plzen and Barcelona versus Cardiz. All right, guys, we're going to get into both these reviews today in one view. All right, so let's get into it. We got a lot to discuss. Match day 1, Champions League, Barcelona versus Viktoria Plzen. Now, let's get into it. The game ended 5-1 Barcelona. We're going to get into the results now. Against Viktoria Plzen, the game ended 5-1. Goal scores by Lewandoski, hat-trick. Kessié got the opener. And then the last goal was scored by Fran Torres. I owe Fran Torres a big apology from my last episode. He's finally stepping up off the bench there and had a good game. So I owe him a big apology for that. All right, so let's start up with the lineup. All right, so as we can see here, Xavi started with Stegen in goal. We all knew that would happen. Jordi Alba, I sort of knew that Jordi Alba would get a run out today. It was sort of in the tea leaves. And then we also had Christensen. That was also very easy to predict that he was going to get that start. He's been playing pretty much most of the games. Xavi's been keeping him sharp, just like he has with Jordi Alba. Giving him minutes here and there, so you knew that he was going to eventually have to play like a full 90 and see what he had, and he had a good game as well. Koundé got the start at center back today, and then we got Sergio Roberto, who started actually as a right back, and I got to give Sergio Roberto some props. This role of an inverted right back fits him because he doesn't really have to be on the wing. He's now inverted, so he's actually in the center of the park playing pretty much as a center midfielder. So defensively, his roles are of a right back, but offensively, because we dominate possession in these types of games, offensively he's more of a center mid when we have possession. So that sort of suits Sergio Roberto fine. And then in the midfield, the real shocker was I thought that he would have played Busquets some more because they always seem to play Busquets, but Xavi really stepped up, rotated Busquets out, played Frankie de Jong in that position, the pivot position, played Kessié beside him, and played Pedri. And the Kessié and Frankie de Jong was very interesting because they acted almost as a double pivot, almost as a triple pivot pretty much, because Pedri would drop back as well when needed, and sometimes Pedri would even drop back into the right back position when needed, so they were very fluid and very interchangeable. That's the great thing about Kessié, is that it still allows a team to be very fluid, because Kessié has the ability to play on the interior left, right, as a 6, as a 10, as an 8. He can play in all those different positions. So, he's not a world-class, pivot, but he's good enough to play the pivot in certain moments. So if Frankie de Jong decides to, make a run forward, Kessié can drop back into that position. So and we did see some of that. We could have been a little fluid, a little better, but we did see some of that, and they did look good. Now let's get into the attack. Now into the attack, we had Fati starting, which was also a surprise. Actually, it wasn't really a surprise for me. I thought Fati would start. The real surprise was Dembele on the other side. I thought, with his injury history, they would have given Dembele a rest. But, Xavi's really, really throwing his trust into Dembele, which is great to see. And then, of course, we had our main man, so Lewandowski was in there with his hat trick and everything else, so to me, it was pretty much the Lewandowski Dembele show, and they showed us why they're the driving force for our offense. Okay, now, so as we break down the game, so the substitutes that came on with Fran Torres, he had a great game as well. We got to see Memphis Depay, we got to see Gavi, we got to see Pablo Torre for a little bit, didn't really see much, just ran around a little bit. And then we got PK got his first minutes of the game. So both Memphis Depay and PK will get the first minutes of the game. So we might see them against Cardiz. Now, we did see some goods and some bads. I wasn't overly impressed, even though we did score the 5 goals or 5 great goals. Like I said, to me, it was like Dembele and Lewandowski setting the mark on the team. But we're still lacking a little bit of I would say, control in the games and control overall. So we're still turning the ball over a little too much. We're still playing a little too fast. We're not picking the correct moments to hit on the counter. So the way I see it is that we would literally be perfect. So when Dembele has something and he sees it and he knows he can do it, he'll go and we'll be fast. And whether it's Dembele or it's Fati on the other end or Rafinha, we want them to, as soon as they see something, to go and take it instantly. But if it's not there, then slow it down. Don't turn over possession. Don't just waste the ball with a searching pass across the entire field. Through ball backwards across. You know what I mean? What Dembele had a couple of turnovers where he's like, dude, what are you doing? You're trying to make like a 70-yard pass on the ground. Like, come on, man. Like, you really thought no one was going to go after that ball? Like, so, he put us in some situations like that. So we got to get Dembele out of that. We got to get the other players out of that. When Dembele when he's going on the counter and then he pulls it back, he's got to get support and he's got to get runners to help him be able to pick up proper passes so he's not forced to make those passes or he doesn't feel pressured into making those passes. So we've got to do better with that. We allowed a goal, which is, it was sort of one of those things because it was ping balling around and you can't really blame anybody. Maybe it's just they could have came for it, whatever, but we still got to do better. We've got to do better. We've given up 2 goals now in, I think that's 5 games. Not good. We scored 16, yeah, but still 2 goals. We should have given up any, but so it goes. Guys like Araujo, Eric Garcia, Busquets, and Rafinha pretty much had the day off. So 4 guys didn't see any playing time. We expect to see them against Cardiff come on Saturday. And that should be an interesting game. So it was a great game. Overall, I'd probably say we played like a 6 or 7 overall as a team. The result of obviously is a great result. That's a 9 result, but as a team, I thought we played like a 6 or 7. I think there's a lot of room to grow for this team. Like there's levels to this, and we still haven't hit our stride. I don't think everybody's hit their form yet. Clearly Fati's still not ready yet, but it's just good to see Fati get 60 minutes against Cardiff. All right, guys, let's get into this Cardiff game. Ended in a 4-0 victory for Barcelona. We have to give a special prayer out to the people who fell sick or whatever happened that postponed the game for a little bit, but we have to give them a shout out, send them some blessing and love, and hopefully everything will be okay and be safe for them. This rotation is good and it's bad, and we're gonna break it down in the long run, how we should be looking at this rotation. All right, guys, so let's get into it. All right, so the first half of the game was very difficult to watch. I mean, it was obvious we weren't going to have any fluidity or chemistry. These guys have never really played together. So the midfield was okay. We pressed well. We won some things, but then you had a back lineup that never played together. Hector and Bellerin have never played with any of those guys. Balde's still new. PK's first real game of the season. So the back line was disjointed and the attacking line was disjointed, and you could see that disjointed. And the 3 players who've actually worked together in Frankie de Jong, Gavi, and Busquets, you're not going to see much cohesion when only 3 of the 10 guys have actually really have any chemistry together. Because then what he did was that he had put Frankie de Jong on the left side, which is on the opposite side of what he normally plays, because he normally play both Frankie and Gavi normally play on the right side, and the left side is left to Pedri. So now we're resting Pedri. You have one on the left, which is not his normal position. So now Balde is working with somebody he's not 100% used to working with yet on that side, as well as a striker that he's not 100% working with. So where Balde is just getting used to working with Fati and Dembele and Rafinha, now you add in Fran Torres. So now it's a totally different movement, So I don't think Xavi did a lot of the younger players and the players that we need to get into the team. I don't think he did them a great service with these massive substitutions, but I think that it might play overall for the structure, because I think what's the real big and important thing that I think people are missing is what Xavi's done. He's given his word. Everybody within the first 5 games has gotten an opportunity. And each player then has to look within themselves and say, what did they do with their opportunity? So there is no real, the coach didn't give me any opportunity. I never got my opportunity. No, everybody got an opportunity. Now, you may not get another opportunity for a while, but that really is going to fall on you. So Fran Torres doesn't see the pitch again for, another month. That's on him, right? He did not perform well enough, so we'll get into now the second half. All right, so in the second half now, we start to see a little bit. Looks like, obviously the guys get a good first 45 minutes on their first belt. And the refereeing was horrible. Balde should have had a penalty, and then these clowns on ESPN, like, these are why they're clowns. They're out there justifying the foul again in the Bayern Munich game where the guy got someone put a finger on his shoulder, like a couple of fingers on the shoulder. And they said, that's a perfect foul. You can't do that. You can't touch someone. You can't put your hand on their shoulder. They put their hand on the shoulder. That was a foul when it happened against Bayern Munich. Defensive player in his own box. So it wasn't even an attacking player where the benefit is supposed to go to the attacking player. This was a defensive player clearing his box. He got touched on his shoulder, and that was, such a big foul that the referee had to call it, and it was fully justified to take away a goal against Freiburg against Bayern Munich. So when Bayern Munich needs a call, it's a perfect call. But when Balde goes in, the guy wraps his arm around his waist. They talk about, look at his feet aren't moving. Guess what, you damn clowns? If I wrap my hands around your waist and pick you off the ground, your feet are gonna spin in the air too, you bunch of bozos. You're a bunch of morons. This is why ESPN, all these channels, they're a bunch of clowns. They're a bunch of morons. Don't ever listen to these people. Right? You're listening to these people, you're bound to get fooled. You're bound to become a moron. All right? Never listen to them. But in the second half, we start to see what makes Dembele, what makes Fati, and what makes Lewandowski. So for Lewandowski's first goal there, he shows his strength and he shows his determination. And this is what Fran Torres missed. If you look at the play, he starts it down the center, in the center circle. One of the Cardiz players actually tries to interfere with him, bump him. He doesn't fall to the ground and cry to the referee. He keeps his run going. Then as he enters the box again, another defender tries to knock him off his pace. He doesn't fall down and complain to the referee. He pushes the guy, keeps running, and guess what? The ball appears and he taps it in. Guarantee you, if that was Fran Torres, he would have stopped way back at the center circle. But Lewandowski didn't allow that to happen. He continued through. He continued pushing. The same thing happened for the third goal, for when the one he assisted with Fati. Great ball, through ball by Dembele. Lewandowski runs onto the ball, holds off the defender for about 15 yards, allows Fati to get into the play, lays it off to Fati. Fati just taps in and gets his first goal and gets an assist. See, these types of things are really what make Lewandowski. This is what makes a number 9 a number 9 and a striker a striker. This is what makes him peak Suarez, peak Haaland, Benzema. This is what makes them different from everybody else. This is what, makes a center forward a center forward. And then the last goal there was Dembele's goal. Now, that was such a great goal. He pretty much took it to half the length of the field, did what he does, do a couple of crossovers, cutbacks, pump fakes, everything. I swear he's just playing basketball. There's just cutbacks, pump fakes, and crossovers, until the defenders don't even know where to turn, and then blasts it in. And this is what I was saying before, that I believe that Dembele will actually become a better goal scorer the moment he stops thinking about scoring goals. So for the first part of this whole game, when he came on, all he was thinking about was creating assists, was looking for Lewandowski. And if you look, he created both those 2 goals with his passes to Lewandowski. So, he created the pass to Lewandowski that ran into space, and he created the pass, so he's doing what he needs to do. This should be a very exciting game. It should be very interesting to see what Xavi chooses for the lineup against Bayern Munich coming up. But that was the game. We won. Don't forget to like and subscribe. 4-0 versus Cardiff. All right, guys. So those know, If you don't know, you just don't know. Peace.